The KISS principle has been around for a long time. Keep it simple, stupid. Are you going to get customers who really want the ins and outs, the nitty gritty, all that? Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it.
Why don't we scrape away this mortar here, slide one of these bricks out, then using rope weave from strands of this hessian, rig up a kind of pulley system. So that when a guard comes in, he sets up a tripwire, gets laid out, and we put Rimmer in the guard's uniform, he leads us out, we steal some swords, and fight our way back to the bug.
Or we could use the teleporter.
On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk botnets and cybersecurity, workforce development, and making decisions easy. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek. This is ResiWeek, episode 487, Don't Have Time. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matty Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week I'm pleased to be joined by one of my longtime friends, the one and only Mr. David Pedigo. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Trinnov Audio. How you doing, Dave?
I am living a dream. Actually, I'm living an incredible dream right now. How are you?
Yeah, Grandpa Dave.
Gramps.
Grandpa
Yes.
Dave. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
I am nowhere near that yet.
It's been a week, and I still can't believe how beautiful a baby that can come out of something from my genes is. Actually shocking.
Yeah, I saw the photo. The babes is adorable. Totally adorable. All right, let's jump right in. We are not talking InfoComm yet.
Yeah.
That'll happen probably next week because this is coming out on Wednesday, the first day of the show. And yeah, there's nothing to talk about yet because nothing's happened. So we are going to kick it off with a bunch of fun Resi things. This comes to us from CE Pro. The FBI is warning of Badbox 2.0. It's a botnet threat to smart homes. Go read through the article from our friend Zach over at CE Pro. Essentially, where this is mostly coming out of is devices, streaming boxes, projectors, infotainment thing, digital photo frames, all that stuff that kind of comes unbranded directly out of China is where we're seeing this. And again, it's a botnet. We know what these are, or if you don't, go look it up. Dave, I love when these articles come out from our channel because they post and they talk about this big rosy picture of the AV integrator is there to save the residential homeowner from making stupid decisions and putting unsafe products on their network. And we don't have that power. Is there really anything that the standard integrator across varying, project scopes can actually do in these situations? Again, the article has a lot of great things that you can proactively do and retroactively do. But does this really fall in our boat?
I don't think so. I mean, end users are called wetware for a reason. It's a derogatory term. And, you can put in great levels of security and there's always going to be something that can circumvent it. I mean, certainly, we want to make sure that you're using sophisticated networks, that you're putting, particularly very private data, that is kind of as stored and as encrypted as possible. But for the majority of the dealers out there, the overwhelming majority of the dealers, I don't think they have the time nor really truly the skill set to keep up with all of these botnets and all that stuff. I mean, you're talking about major companies like Microsoft that have a hard time keeping up with it. How is a average integrator who is dealing with many clients, but has a small company of 5, 7, even 15 employees, how are they going to keep up with it? It's just a matter of informing your clients of the potential issues and, trying to keep up on kind of the basic things that are in the article, like, making sure that you're updating your firmware and, just keeping on top of things. But in general, no, I don't see how a general CEDIA type integrator, or even in the InfoComm world, can really keep up with all of these threats.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the InfoComm side of things, not because it's InfoComm or Avixa, but even in that world, most of those installations, as somebody who plays in that space, they're either installing on a completely separate network,
Yeah,
or IT internally at whatever company or corporation they're working at is managing all that risk assessment
yeah,
and all of that jazz. Where I get kind of caught up on this is there's been years that we've gone to events and listened to the own the network conversation, right?
yeah,
I love that as a concept. I have locked down networks for clients to the point where they can't add something without it being approved.
right.
When I tell a client that we're doing that for their safety, how do you think that goes over?
Not well.
No, it's not well at all. They get pissed.
Yeah,
They're like, I spent all this money and I can't add my son's new whatever onto the network.
yeah,
Why is it only on the guest Wi-Fi, which doesn't let him do anything? Well, we don't trust your son's friends, so we locked it down. Well, I take that off. I don't care. I've got nothing to hide. Is this, where does our responsibility stop?
I mean, I think, first, before even that question, it's that we as a society prefer convenience over
Yeah.
security, and that's just the way that it is. And I think that it's more about expressing to the customer what the potential risks are, and that those vulnerabilities are outside of their scope of work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's a great
and that's
point.
just it. These are sophisticated bots that are being put on by foreign entities or domestic entities, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And you just assume risk by taking
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times commoditized devices, putting them onto your network, and then the activities that you do on a day-to-day basis also are exposing you to these threats, and it just is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it was funny a few years ago. You heard a lot more about basically getting your system locked up, and you'd have to go and pay them in Bitcoin or whatever. And I haven't heard of that quite as much over the last couple of years. I don't know if you have or not, but it seems to me like
Varies.
it's not as bad, and I could be very wrong. It's not as bad now as it was maybe a few years ago, as security has tightened up. These larger manufacturers that are making these products are more aware,
Mm-hmm.
but who knows? I mean, it's a Wild West still, really.
If I can somewhat tongue-in-cheek make a joke, there's been a little bit of a conflict in that area of the world where most of those things were coming from. And you can leave that to yourself to figure that one out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's change topics for a second. This comes to us from Residential Tech Today. CEDIA scores a legislative win for workforce development. One of the things from their recent Smart Home on Capitol Hill Day was to try and get some congressional support to expand the reach of the 529 savings plans, where you could use that towards post-secondary training, licensing, etc. Specifically, obviously, in our case, for the custom integration space, but obviously this applies to skilled trades, etc. Dave, obviously, advocacy is still a huge push of what CEDIA has been doing and what the industry needs to be doing in general. As we know, trades are declining still.
Sure.
As far as availability of workforce. This is still in the bill space, right?
Yeah.
This has not been fully approved, hasn't been signed into law yet. Is there still a push? Is this something where integrators should be reaching out to their Congress people, to their senators, et cetera, to try and get them to support the bill that this is in?
Let me break it up into two parts. I think
Sure.
Part one is just let's talk about CEDIA for a second. And the public advocacy part was, I was there for 14 years, and for many, many, many years. We had major wins, all done by Darren Reman at the time.
Yeah.
And
Darren's a rock
no one
star.
knew who Darren was and the work that he
Mhm.
did. And it was the most important work that the association did. And
Yep.
because it kept dealers in business. In this instance, this is a little bit different of a policy because this is more a policy to enable. Um, uh, the best way to put it is to enable dealers or people who are, or kids that are looking to get into trades to be able to spend money that was put into a 529 in a on, let's say, CEDIA training or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is in a way, I won't say self-serving, but it is certainly in CEDIA's best interest that 521 or $529 could be spent on, say, CEDIA or a VIXA training. That being said, I think it's majorly important that that you're able to do that. I think that we're starting to see, from a cultural perspective, the move towards people understanding that college isn't for everybody, that it's very expensive, and that the trades are needed. And so being able to use money that was invested for college into trade, be it smart home or be it electricians or plumbers or whatever, I think is brilliant. And so I do think that it is in the dealer's best interest to support this bill, and I think that CEDIA is on the right side of this, even if in some way it also helps them from a financial perspective if it passes.
Yeah. And again, I think the additional aspect to look at is it's obviously not just benefiting CEDIA training per se. It obviously definitely can, but any sort of training that helps you get into smart home or gets you into any of the building trades that are even adjacent to us is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because as we know, there's a huge.
And I don't know if it's part of the big beautiful bill. So
I don't know which one this is. It's HR1, and I do not remember off the top of my head which one that specifically is. But hopefully that will get through for this reason, and this reason alone is why I'm stating that.
HR1 is
you can
big,
debate every
bill.
other part. All right. So in this case, I'm incredibly happy about that bill. Other cases, contact me after for a full breakdown of my opinion on that bill.
Trillions of dollars of debt.
For the most part, I will send you to my friend Thomas Massey's Twitter account to go from there.
Yeah.
He's not really my friend. I wish he was. He seems cool. All right, let's change topics for a second before I alienate another half of my audience. All right, this comes to us from Residential Systems and a good friend of the show, Miss Katye McGregor-Bennett, making decisions easy to win more clients. How simplifying your sales approach shortens the buying cycle and builds trust without dumbing things down. As always, Katye wrote a fantastic article. Go read through this and don't just gloss over it. Read through it. It's a great article talking about how to simplify the path, not necessarily the product, and essentially how we need to make it easier to get to a decision for our customers. Dave, I want to get your opinion on this, but before we do, I was reading a business book a couple years ago, and they were talking about U-Haul. And U-Haul, everybody knows U-Haul, right?
Yeah.
They're great when you're in college. They're great when you're in this business and you need a couple extra trucks, all of those things. They found that one of the biggest strangleholds that they had or funnel issues was people would go online looking for a truck to rent for their move and could never figure out what they needed because they didn't know. And one of the marketing firms that was working with U-Haul said, we've got to make it easy so people understand what they need to do. And they broke it down into we're gonna label the back of the trucks that you see on the road with fits 2 queen beds, fits 4 queen beds, holds a 4-bedroom house. And it's plastered on every truck you see. And the management of U-Haul, if I remember the story correctly, was not in favor of this. So they did a pilot. And the pilot was phenomenally successful because it made it really easy, right? And it's the same principle of, if you do a mailer, don't send them to a QR code, which sends them to a website with a contact form and all this other jazz. Just put the stinking email right there, or the phone number right there where they can see it. Make it easy. When you read stuff like this, we've talked about, probably as long as I've known you, how as an industry we need to simplify our approach, our go-to-market strategy. And yet I continually see from the people I see online, from the people that flyer my house, ridiculous, over-the-top, complicated sales pitches for home technology. What is it going to take for us to figure out how to actually meet our customers where they are?
ChatGPT.
See, I was going to say Claude.
Brock. It's funny. So, because I'm a grandfather now, back when I was just a newly formed father and working at CEDIA early on, and even then it became very familiar to me that I had come up with a formula. And the formula was that you wanted to be successful in the industry, you needed three things. One is that the system that you put in needed to be reliable. And then the second one was that it had to be easy to use. And if it was not easy to use, people weren't going to use it. And then third was cool. No big deal. That easy to use should also go over to the communications that you were doing. We, as technical people by nature, tend to want to overcomplicate things. This is what you need to do. This is what it does. This is how it's going to improve your life. The end. Instead of talking about, and I'm the most guilty of this, about how many electrons are going to flow through this or that. No one gives a crap. And Katie breaks it down. The KISS principle has been around for a long time. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's really the case. Are you going to get customers who really want the ins and outs, the nitty gritty, all that? And that comes into your EQ instead of your IQ, and being able to read how the customer is reacting to those kind of things. But in general, no. Keep it easy, keep it simple. And Katie, who is the loveliest of ladies, put a spot on article about this for sure. And don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it, for sure.
I'm continually amazed at, because again, we get pitches from everybody all the time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm constantly amazed at how complicated some are that get either emailed to me, or heck, from our industry too, right? From suppliers.
No doubt. That
reach out, and you look at it and you have that thought of, I just want to buy this thing from you. I don't need, I was working on something the other day, and it's with a newer vendor of ours. It wasn't I wasn't buying Trinnov. Like, I was buying simple parts.
We're not complicated. We're very easy to use.
I know you're not. I wasn't implying you were. But as in, like, it's not in the price range that you play in.
Oh, sure.
Right? This was a very simple, like, couple $100. To open the account and get it running so that I could order this widget was days of work. And they wanted to send somebody out to have a sit down to go over our business and how they can help. And I'm like, listen, I am buying one thing from you. I don't care about your line. I'm buying one thing and one thing only. That's what I need from you. If you can do that, awesome. If not, I'll get it on Amazon or eBay.
Well, and that comes
because it's faster for me.
That comes from greed too, which is people
it's a combination.
Always wanting to upsell instead of creating a lifetime relationship with a company. They're always wanting to upsell, but your point is spot on. So look at it this way. And because I'm a grandfather, I'm old. And in the 90s and 2000s, you would, Sony as an example would sell TVs, and the people selling them would say, look at how many buttons are on the remote control. We have picture in picture, well knowing that nobody's using picture in picture. Anyways, The point being is that Steve Jobs came in and he figured out that with the Apple TV, my remote is going to have 6 buttons: up, down, left, right, enter, and menu. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep.
And what it was is simplicity is really, really, really hard. And that's actually, I said chat GPT or whatever AI you want to use, but honestly, I actually mean it more than it's not in jest. Say, hey, take this complicated subject that I'm trying to explain and make it easy for somebody to use, and they'll break it down. I'm rewriting a course on understanding acoustics, and that I'm using that. So I'm taking all the real detailed stuff, putting it in there, and then saying 2 things. Hey, make sure that I haven't put any technical inaccuracies in there, and then is there an easier way to explain this? And damn it, and
Simplify
that's because
this for me.
You're using thousands of supercomputers that have now changed the world. So use it to your advantage, because your competitors are for sure.
Definitely. All right, let's hit our last topic of the day, which kind of brings it back to the first topic of the day. NETGEAR is acquiring cybersecurity platform Exium, which is their secure access service edge platform, is going to be integrated into NETGEAR's core network offerings. Read through it. They talk about a little bit of how Exium's SaaS is going to be integrated into that core and be part of their online portal, which I'm blanking on the name of at the moment, even though I use it all the time. Insight, there we go. Their Insight Cloud for cybersecurity stuff. Dave, again, this kind of brings us back to the other side where we started. I love this because NETGEAR already has a fantastic product, but bringing in Exium should be very, very helpful. My question for you is, they're saying that this is going to integrate with their Insight, and it's supposed to bring a seamless single pane of glass solution for managed IT teams and MSPs, which is managed service providers. If you are unaware, again, typically a network solutions company is typically who that falls under. NETGEAR does have a full line of AV products that use Insight, so I am going to assume this is going to come into that world. Is the bar with this potentially too high for most integrators to understand how to utilize this type of product when we get into advanced cybersecurity solutions?
Well, I would hope that NETGEAR is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and the new company that they have acquired, because I doubt that many at all specialize as a commercial or residential integrator with a primary focus on cybersecurity. So I don't know, but I would certainly hope that the heavy lifting is really not on the integrator's part, because they just don't have the time more than anything else.
So let me ask you this then, because I would agree with you. I would assume, and again, it is an assumption because we haven't seen how this is going to go to market, but my assumption would be that there will be some profiles. You can enable them, select your concern or your threat level essentially, and then it's going to do its thing and show you information that then you can take that further if you want. My question is, which again kind of goes back to our first story, how deep should integrators offer any sort of cybersecurity? We used to do it in my company. We have subsequently got out of that. I don't want anything to do with it now.
I wouldn't either. I think it's the risk reward, the cost risk reward is way away from you. So no, I think that this is not something that is ultimately going to be lucrative, and is ultimately a greater potential liability than anything else. So no, I've changed my mind on this too, because I'm sure that I said back in 2014, 2012. Oh, this is a great opportunity, and no, it's not. It's too
Yeah, me too.
it's too big a threat. It's too big an issue.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, let's leave it there. Dave, thanks so much for joining us. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Trinnov Audio, where can they do that?
They can find me at Dave Pedigo on X, or they can just email me, dave.pedigo, P-E-D as in dog, I-G as in George, O, at Trinnov.com.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us as well. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on most of the socials. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AV Nation.